What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. And of course, it's me, Brant, and Kat joining you live. Hopefully, you guys will have fun with this week's show. There's not a ton of news, but of course, there's always the comic books that we can discuss. And sorry we weren't here last week. We had some issues going on, so we apologize. We're only human. We got things that going on. And sometimes to do a late show like that is kind of difficult after, a rough day. But we bring it to you when we can. So as promised, like I said, great show today. Can't wait to hear everyone's thoughts on Ghost Machine and all the other news. So Kat, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Yeah, so I don't think we marked this down. I'm just going to reference it because I'm sure people are going to talk about it in the comments. Supergirl was cast for Millie Alcock, Alcock, and she is I would say kind of a relatively new actress. She's in House of the Dragon, the Games of Thrones show.
Okay.
I don't know much about her, and I think that's why we all didn't really mark it down, because it's like, cool, another Supergirl. We've had a lot of these already, and as we've been doing this show for a long time. But I think it's cool, but I don't know much about the actress, so it's more of a wait and see type thing.
Yeah, it's funny because Lisa and I haven't gotten around to watching that show yet, or I would have totally known she's playing the main character, I guess, or young version of Daenerys. So I didn't realize that, but okay.
So there's another.
So Brant in another.
This is just another Supergirl.
Yeah, because they have the new Supergirl movie, that the Woman of Tomorrow adaptation. So that's.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
In another dimension, cool. Brant would have seen the show and he would have been like, wow, she's great or horrible for this role.
Right, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Toby says, I sure hope to hear about Crashdown. I hope Spider Slayer goes ham on the review. I didn't read it. I didn't even know. I'd heard about it now. I didn't hear about it until after I got my pull list at Comic Tom had a comic. But honestly, I don't love sci-fi. And if I'm also being completely honest, like, I don't know. I always feel weird reviewing like people's that are so separate, like so close to like your circle. But I didn't read it, so I have no opinion.
I did hear about it because I go through the number one issues when I do Friday First. So I was like, and then I totally forgot to try to track it down. So I forgot about it altogether. I'm sorry, Tom. Like he's watching this. But yeah. Did you read it, Mike?
Yes, I did read it. I talked about it on my Worthy Ones, and we'll talk about it here.
Okay.
Oh, okay. There you go. So you liked it enough then.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some of the other news then. We have Marvel teasing the ROXXON Thor. If you guys don't know, this is from, I'm guessing it has to do with ROXXON. I'm guessing, like the corporation.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
that's spelled very similar.
It's like I went into it and like the description for the actual event or whatever it is, it's like called the ROXXON Saga or something. There's like an event built around ROXXON. I don't know what it's about, but
I was a little confused by it. That's why I'd even marked the story, because I'm like I'm kind of confused by this whole thing.
Yeah, let me see. I'll try to bring up the description. The ROXXON Age of comics begins. In his secret identity, Chat Hammer, the son of Odin, knows Mama Gaia is a top priority for heroes and for business. So it's like, that's just like the first sentence. That's like, this is like corporate Thor. Is it? I don't understand.
Yeah,
exactly. It's different. It's different than what we've been.
It's definitely different.
But none of us have been. We all dropped Immortal Thor, and it's a shame. The reason I marked it down is just it's been a shame to not be liking Thor as much as maybe the Jason Aaron run of the comic, and this doesn't really give me more hope. It's just like, oh, this is such a weird event. It just, I don't know. It's we'll see. I don't think I'll be reading it 'cause, again, I dropped the series, but they're really trying something with Thor, and I think they're just trying to figure out what to do with him.
Yeah, I don't think I have really much interest, unfortunately. Like, it's just Thor's never been like my guy anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just that mythology I just never got into. and it was just something that Donnie Cates did that I like the story that he was presenting when he was writing it. And,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, it was a new series. It was Donnie Cates. Why not try it? And it's just, I liked it. So I kept on buying it. And then as soon as he left it and it fell off, I was just like, oh, it's not good anymore, you know? So I don't know. It's a shame. I want to like Thor. I do like Thor. I like him in the movies, you know, but I just like, there's just something here that I don't like.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just not quite doing it for me either. So
no Thor for us. We do have another news piece here. So Star Spider is going to be in Edge of Spider-Verse issue 3. I've been so done with the Edge of Spider-Verses for a long time, and I'm good.
I mean, I saw this character and I was like, it's another spider. It looks kind of cool. It's like a spider in space, I guess. So why not? It's just like one of those things where they always try to create a new spider and hope it literally sticks. Like, no pun intended, right? I mean, it's just like, we'll see what the next new spider character is going to bring. I mean, the character looks kind of cool because it's like the character's got its own spaceship and shit like that. And I was like, it's not bad. I mean, if a book is written well, it doesn't matter who the character is, right? It doesn't matter if it's a spider character. It doesn't matter if it's me, the character. As long as someone can write the comic well, people are going to read it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I'm just not, I don't know. It's just, I've been burned by this Spider-Verse.
No, yeah, I get it. There's too many spider characters. It's just like, it takes away the fun of it. It's like, okay, the first Edge of Spider-Verse was fun, you know? Now you got all these other characters. Like, the concept is kind of cool. I mean, like, it's just a space character and has an arachnid spaceship, you know?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Right. Well, next up is TMNT gets all-star artists. I just wanted to mention it, and we'll mention the artists actually, because I think it's cool that IDW is trying to make this like a Transformers relaunch for them. They're really, really putting their best foot forward. Cliff Chang, Joel Jones, Raphael Albuquerque. Like, honestly, like, I'm kind of even convinced to buy this first issue because it feels like they're really trying.
It's just, well, they got nothing else, man. They really
they do not.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
So I mean, they gotta make it good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got Jason Aaron writing, right? You want to have, you know, top-notch art on it as well. So yeah, I would pick it up just to see, you know. But you know, hopefully it's good, and hopefully people that are just like Jason Aaron fans will get into TMNT through it.
So next up we got DC's Free Comic Book Day will feature a secret event. I mean, that's usually what these Free Comic Book Day books are about these days, is what the next event for DC and Marvel is going to be. And, you know, I like that they're trying to do something interesting by not revealing it right away. I don't know. I think it's cool.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
You go first.
Okay. I was just going to say, yeah, that was the cool thing about it for me, was that we don't know what it is. And yeah, they're all about events and stuff, but if hopefully it's building up to something really cool, and the anticipation will be like, you know, the payoff will be worth the anticipation, but we'll see.
I've been hearing that it's like DC's coming out with their own like alternate universe, like Ultimate Universe. That's what I heard that this could possibly be. I've been, because I watched some other YouTube channels, and that's what the rumblings have been. So yeah. And it might be certain people that have been part of DC before been kind of, you know, heading towards that direction. So I don't know for sure, but it could be before. It could be definitely that. And also, what is it? Mark Waid and Dan Mora are no longer going to be writing Shazam. So
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah. So that's obviously leading them to do another project as well.
Yeah. I mean, they still, I guess, technically have World's Finest. So maybe they're just like, I just want to focus on that. I'm not sure. Shazam, man. I don't know what that means for that book then.
I mean, I was about to say that could finally be when I don't read it anymore.
Yeah,
or you know what? In a positive light, maybe we'll like it more.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, when you look at, like, for instance, how popular World's Finest is, it almost makes sense if you do like an alternate universe or something like that those two would do it, because the World's Finest like does take place in, like, I guess the pastime, I guess, you know. So yeah.
I wonder how, because obviously we don't have the numbers, I don't know, but I wonder how well it's still doing, World's Finest, because like I know I dropped the book. I know like there was lulls with the series. So I'm curious from like the beginning to now where, but also that's every series. Like every series you're gonna have a drop. So
I think it probably still sells pretty well. What's that?
I thought that was, I'm sorry. I thought that was funny. It's about all the books Kat got. But I thought it was funny saying Phil is huge. No, it's just Kat's just really small.
I am very short. That's really what's always so fun.
So funny.
Is and for everyone listening who don't know, so I got 10,000 books for Beast and Snow, which is our the comic did very well on Kickstarter, so we got a lot of books and a lot of shipments. But my business partner Phil, he's shown in the picture, and Toby's like, oh, you know, Phil's so tall and so big. He's like, I mean, he's tall. He's like past 6 foot, but I'm also just very short. So when you compare the two, and I will say that, and he says big and strong. Phil is a weakling. So am I. My brother helped us bring the boxes in. So we helped him, but my brother did most of the work.
That's funny.
But yes, that is funny. We got the books and we're very happy about them. So that's interesting. Going back to Shazam, because I also see a lot of comments about that. That is interesting about Shazam. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the book, because now, where did you hear from, like a rumor mill, or is it like solicited that they're leaving?
I think it was a news article. It says here that Josie Campbell is who did Mary Marvel series is taking over for Wade.
I'd actually be really happy for that. She's writing the Amazon book. And both me and Brent have been enjoying it. It's been a pretty solid book.
So I heard that Dan Mora and Mark Waid are going to be doing the Justice League relaunch.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, seems soon after having the whole point of that Titans event being, we don't need the Justice League. It's like, well, here's the Justice League again. Brant, for the Josie Campbell, that writer who did Mary Marvel, she might be taking over Shazam.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't hear which book they had written. So yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, that's good for me.
Let's move on to the next thing. We got 2 more stuff here. Let's do Joshua Williamson joins Action, and the story is going to bleed into Superman titles. I mean, I have not liked Superman as much as this is a weird sentence, but I've never liked Superman as much as I do now. Like I really, really like Superman a lot because of Joshua Williamson. And honestly, I was pretty pleasantly surprised with Jason Aaron's Bizarro story. So yeah, I mean, that's cool. And I'll be picking it up. I'm glad that we can be excited about Superman again. Honestly, I'm more excited about Superman than I am about Batman right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, all the Superman stuff for the most part has been pretty solid. So as long as it's consistent and well written, I'm going to be on board for sure, you know. So I'm like you, Kat. I like Bizarro. I liked I like all the other Superman issues that have come out so far as well. Yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say. It's just been great. They promised that Superman would be better in 2023, and it definitely was.
Yeah.
So going back to Shazam real quick, I just found this. So that is pretty solidly confirmed right there. It's Josie Campbell, Emanuela Lupacchino in April. They're taking.
I mean, great art though. I mean, that's a great artist pairing too.
Absolutely.
So
there we go. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Real life, man. It's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as Superman goes, I mean, Joshua Williamson on anything is a bonus. So, but yeah, I've been loving Superman so far. So
I'm worried though, man. I just feel like that Joshua Williamson is going to be so overworked. The man is doing a lot of stuff right now.
He really is. I saw a tweet about like the books he did in the year, I want to say, or maybe it was just like a month. And I'm like, that's how much you put out. Like, how do you find the time? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how he's doing it all because he has Green Arrow. He has his own books too. Like, he has Superman. There's so many books that he's doing. So
Cobra Commander and
forgot about that.
Right.
So many books. I don't know. I literally don't know how he sits down and does it all, but happy he is, and he's putting out quality work. You know, some people write quicker than others, so hopefully he keeps the standard up. Let's move on to the last news piece here, which I thought was really interesting. Marvel's releasing Blood Hunt as a red band adult only edition. And look, is it a gimmick? Is it a moneymaker? Hell yeah. But I'm all for like doing something interesting to make money, like to give you a reason to get a second copy of the same book. And this is something different too. I feel like every gimmick that comics have been doing in these past couple of years, it's always the same gimmick. So this I've never seen before. Me personally, I've never seen a red band comic book in that way from Marvel and DC, like usually Image, sure. But I don't know. I thought that was cool. I don't know how red band it will be, but yeah, why not? I'd probably pick it up, but I also don't know if I like the event. And there's another part of me that's like, is this event gonna be good? But
I mean, I'll pick it up too. I agree. I think it is something a little bit different. Like everything's always a variant cover, but why not add material inside the book? Oh, hey, there's a new one for you. Add extra pages, you know? I mean, I think that's kind of cool. And you make it where it's more adult oriented, and that's kind of cool because it said it'll be more bloodier, more gorier than the standard edition, and it's going to be like polybagged because of that and things like that. So I think that's a great idea, and I think like maybe they should do more stuff like that. Like if you want to see the added material, you know, make 2 versions of it. You know, I don't know. I mean, people might get pissed off at that too, because we seem to get mad at everything with comics these days. But still, I mean, if you're getting added material that you want to see, it's like almost like a uncut version, then I don't know, go for it.
Exactly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing like a director's cut or whatever, that kind of thing. Nobody complains about those. So I think it's like both of you. I think it's really interesting. Obviously, I think, you know, the red band part, like you said, Mike, is going to be more violence, more gore, that kind of thing, as opposed to other potential, maybe language. I don't know. I don't know if they'll
I don't think it'll be too sexual.
Oh no, not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll just be more, maybe more bloody. But again, how far are they going to go with it? I'm not really sure, but sure.
It's a vampire book, so.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think it's neat.
We do have Tevye mentioning Kat, Ms. Marvel's death was a gimmick. When I meant gimmicks, sure, you could call that a gimmick, but I kind of meant more of like 3D covers and things like that. Those to me are gimmicks, but I like those gimmicks. It's weird to use because gimmick just sounds like a bad word, but I think they're fun. I think the lenticular covers are fun. I think like the cool variants are you know, a nice idea. So like these are the type of gimmicks that I would put an extra $3 to, because like I like having them to my collection. And again, sure, you could call like something like that a gimmick, but I don't know if that's the right word for it. Because when I think of gimmicks, I think more about like covers, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I would rather pay. Like, so for instance, DC charges you $1 more for a cover B. Yeah, because it's a cardstock. So they charge you $1 more for that. I would rather pay $1 more for, you know, 3-4 pages more of a story, because at least I'm getting something to read out of it, you know, and it could be more impactful for the story as well.
Believe it or not, that's all our news for the week. And also, believe it or not, that's 2 weeks of news. So that's the crazy part. But before we jump into the main story, me and Brant got some Kickstarter stuff to talk about. So I'm gonna steal the screen for a second. I got 2 Kickstarters technically to talk about. We're gonna talk about one that's ending here. This is like Fall Like Daughter. If you guys like superheroes, We're going to get to the actual page, and this is the dashboard. That's behind the scenes. It's about a high school girl. Father left her to become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him except for her, and then she inherits his abilities. We only have 2 days left. If you want the full origin story, this is the place to go. It's doing well. It's over its goal by double. So go check it out. And then one of our really big campaigns, we were just talking about Beast in Snow. This is the follow-up. We actually announced this week that Beast in Snow is actually part of a bigger universe. So we're doing a whole fairy tale universe, the Ever Afterverse, and this is the second book within that universe. There's references to Beast in Snow, but you don't need to read Beast in Snow to enjoy this book. If you like Alice in Wonderland and Sleeping Beauty, it is an assassin Alice who was childhood friends with Sleeping Beauty. They were former lovers who are now trapped in a nightmare version of Wonderland. So check it out. Our follow count's really looking nice for it. Almost at 700 followers. We are launching that on Monday. So it'd be really cool to get to 700 followers before we launch on Monday. So go check that one out. And I'll put links in the description for both of them. So Brant, you also have a Kickstarter going on right now.
Yeah, I did want to show this for you because it wasn't showing on the screen.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you shared that picture or that page or not, but yeah, there's that one.
Oh, it wasn't showing? Yeah, thank you.
No, it was still
really
showing like
appreciate
Father
that.
Like Daughter, so there's that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, then there is mine. The Last Ember Hunted, new lenticular cover, speaking of gimmicks. We are also
But see, gimmicks are good though. Like this type of stuff is
exactly.
like, even when I was thinking about it, it's like I like a good gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, I do too, obviously. So, but yeah, ours is funded as well. It's got a little less than 2 weeks to go. So jump on board if you like urban fantasy, you like mythological characters, you got like fire beings and all that good stuff, teenage drama. We got all that. And if you like lenticular covers, and I'll actually show that off here.
That's awesome.
Out. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So really happy with
that. It's a good one too.
Yeah. That's how Federico originally designed the covers to work, and we just couldn't find anybody to do it at the time. So that's why, I went ahead with this campaign. I also wanted to, before we move on, I have one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Our 10-year anniversary is coming up on February 13th. We are celebrating 10 years of Comic Frontline / Comic Book Weekly. So that's really cool. Join us for the celebration. Don't know what we're doing. We may just show up.
Yeah, we do not know.
Yeah, that
would be horrible.
We'll talk memories.
Like, we're gotta cancel, guys.
Let's hope we're on for that week.
It is the day before Valentine's Day, so who knows? But
we all love each other, so hopefully we'll be on.
Yeah.
We did get a super chat before, and we got some happy anniversaries. So thank you very much. Toby says, Casey, the name of the hero, or are those your initials? So this is about like Father Like Daughter, not spelled that way. So it's CASEY. It's so funny. Like Father Like Daughter in particular is a book that people always want to find me in. I'm like, no, it's just a book. There's so many people that always ask, is this about your dad? I always make the joke of like, yeah, my dad left me to become a superhero. I don't know why that's the book in particular. People always like want to see me in, but no, it's just my love for superheroes. And, that did come from my dad. My dad got me into superheroes, and which is really cool. But yeah, it's just a coincidence that somehow my initials line up to her name. But
I never put that together. That's so funny.
Me either, honestly. But that is definitely an interesting coincidence.
Yeah, I just always thought at first I thought like, oh well, she likes Cassie, so maybe she named it Casey.
That's literally why I did it.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so. Like I liked a lot of Cassie characters. I'm like, that's fun. Maybe I could change it a little bit and make it Casey. That is the real reason of why like I like Cassie Sandsmark, and I like Cassie Lang. So I was like, oh, why not like do a version of that for my superhero? So we got Electro Belton who says, looking forward to picking up like Father Like Daughter Volume 2 when I see you at Baltimore Comic-Con in the future. Nice. Sadly, we might visit Baltimore next year, but we are not going to table at Baltimore this year. We're doing a couple other travel conventions, but if you see us, say hi. May I'll bring a copy. All right, let's I think move on to we got another one here.
And this
We
actually exists.
This does actually, yeah. There was
Yeah.
an action figure from Short Fuse a long time ago.
Yeah.
They're still out there rummaging around. Honestly, Short Fuse Media is probably the place to go. They were making some action figures. Talk to Short Fuse. Sean's still doing stuff, so he might still have some inklings about that. For me personally, we're not doing action figures right now, but you know, it's always, you never know. You never know for the future what's going to happen. But as of right now, that's not in the forefront of our minds.
Volume 3 Kickstarter exclusive. No.
Right?
Remember when you were promoting like father like daughter when I met you at MegaCon that time.
No. And I had those figures.
And you had those figures on the table. And I remember the person was like, "Man, you actually got action figures?" They were like freaked out when they saw it.
That was one thing when anytime I brought those action figures, people would go crazy for it, especially the custom made ones. They're like, "Oh my God, that's so cool that this exists." And I guess the business side of me is the long, and again, obviously, like I think it was really cool to have those things, but in my perspective, it's really expensive to make, and to have it of an indie hero, you're not going to see a lot of turnover. So like a business choice of making it is hard, but again, never say never, because other companies might want to do it. Like in that regard, that's fun, but that's why I don't think I'd do that business venture. Cause it's a lot of investment for something you don't know if you'll get back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We do have the question from Emmanuel. Have you been reading Radiant Black? Yeah, I think we all are. Mike, you're still reading Radiant Black, right?
I
feel like this
read
is
it up until the last issue,
off.
but I think I'm dropping it though.
Really?
I'm not into it like I once was, and this war has been kind of. It's not exactly what I've expected, and having to read 2 issues, it kind of is a turnoff for me. And the last issue, just like, I don't know, it kind of brought me down. It doesn't seem like the same book as it once was for me, unfortunately.
I had a feeling they would lose people with the need to get cover A, need to get cover B. I was talking about that. I was like, he was saying, "Oh, but you really like Radiant Black." I'm like, "Yeah, there's interesting stuff they did with the cover A and cover B, but I could see people are not hardcore fans of this book dropping it because it's kind of confusing." And my store actually doesn't get cover B all the time. Like I'm lucky I get comp copies for Radiant Black in particular. Like I get physical issues from them, but like my store for the most part doesn't even have the cover B.
Yeah, the very first issue maybe the second issue they did that. I didn't get it because I didn't even realize they were. I thought it was like a one-off thing, and that would have been totally fine. I think if it was for the 25th issue and they did it there, and then they just kind of stopped. But I can see it weighing on people having to get both sides of the story to get the full story and all that stuff. I understand that. It would take a lot to make me drop Radiant Black though, but I understand it. Yeah,
right. I just don't think the war is as good as it was.
I get that.
I'm enjoying it enough to continue. I like ROXXON is one where I want to be enjoying a little bit more because I love Ryan Parrott's writing, but that's one where I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm reading it because like it's attached to Radiant Black. And obviously I really like Ryan Parrott's writing, but it's just like that's one that kind of has lost me a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, I think we're going into our main topic now, which is the Ghost Machine and Distillery, which is interesting because like I definitely had thoughts going into Ghost Machines and I had different thoughts going out of it. And I had thoughts going into Distillery and I had different thoughts coming out of it. So I thought this would be a cool concept.
Yeah. Ghost Machine for me at first was I didn't even really pay attention to what this first issue was. I just bought it and I realized it was a thicker book. For some reason, I thought it was just like maybe a heavier Geiger story or something like that. And then when I read it, I'm like, oh, this is like really a preview book. Not even that. Like at first I thought it was just profiles. And then I saw more stories in the back of it. And I'm like, oh, this is a preview book. I'm like, this is exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But the way it was presented was everything that I wanted when Distillery came out. And it was cheaper. It was a cheaper book. The stories were longer. There was enough
fits in your long box.
Right.
It's not a magazine.
Right. There was enough there to get you interested in the characters. The artwork was actually good. And even when they were done telling their story, they gave you a profile of every single character in that universe. So it added a little bit more depth to it. And I could really appreciate that. And there was all these stories where had to be something there for somebody. Like Geiger, you might have been already familiar with. Junkyard Joe, you might have read a series from him. Or now you got this red coat guy. And then you got the oh my God, what's the one that guy that talks to animals?
Rook.
Rook. That one was badass. I thought the artwork was phenomenal in that. And I'm like, man, I want to read more of that. But what got me is what I wasn't expecting was the slice of life or grounded stories.
Yeah, same.
Like the Rockefellers and then the
other Halo,
the Hell, and those were the ones that I agree, because the first two I don't read Geiger, so I was like, I don't like Geiger, it's not my thing. And I read that short and I'm like, it's still not my thing. And then I read the Rook and I was like, okay, well, I don't like Geiger, so I'm not gonna like this. And I read it and it's not my thing. And then I saw Francis Manipool's art and I was like, well, I like Francis Manipool, and I read it, I'm like, whoa, that feels really different. And then I loved, any baseball thing. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. This like demon character and this angel character. And every story felt so different, but they all felt really old school DC, but with an indie lens, which I really in particular liked. And what you were saying, Mike, what I really enjoyed about this book is that it felt like you were just jumping in, but not in the way Distillery did. Distillery is like, I don't know what the hell's going on. This felt like a lived-in story, while also explaining what the book's about, which really was helpful. And it made me excited for something I didn't know I needed to be excited for.
Right. It was like you were reading like mini issue ones, and it just gave you enough to understand what was going on. And it got you to the point where this sounds pretty cool and I want to check this out. Like, you got a family that came from the 25th century and they're hiding out in our century, in the year 2024. And I'm like, that's really cool. And then you got the horror book, the Hyde Street book, which I thought was kind of neat too. So like, it just had something for everybody. At least that's what they were trying to go for there. And again, it was an affordable price point. And overall, this was everything that I was hoping that Distillery should have done,
Yeah, this format, the way they did it with like you mentioned like the profiles and all that stuff, it reminded me of when CrossGen launched, because they put out a preview book like that too, and it had like little short stories that really engaged you, and they had profiles of the main characters in the books, and I was like, man, this is pretty cool. And like both of you, this is what I wanted from Distillery, and I wanted to get excited about those books. And the same as you, Kat, I was like, I don't really like Geiger. I don't think I'm going to like this stuff. And I go into it, and I really liked Rook. I really liked everything in it except for Geiger, which still just not my thing.
Which is okay. It's obviously other people's thing. And that's what I like what Mike was just saying. They really tried to target every person you could. And because again, you have the family thing, but then you had the kid, the YA, but then you had like the more action 90s stuff. And it just really worked in a way that it shouldn't have worked. And I was really impressed with it.
Yeah, me too. It like changed my, when you started to say that, like you went in with one opinion and came out with another. That's exactly the way I felt, because I was like, oh, it's another anthology thing. It's a preview book. It's already Geiger that it was the same exact story. And then when I came out of it, I was like, man, that was really good. Now I'm excited and I can't wait for these books to come out. So
totally, like all I expected was Geiger. I didn't expect all that other stuff. Like I was like, it just kept going too. I'm like, oh, there's this book, and then there's this book and this book. Man, it was just a nice surprise, and that's what I liked about it.
We do have a question from Tevia. Do you think Ghost Machine will succeed over Marvel and DC? I think that's tough. I think the things that are going to succeed are things that already have IPs. Like Transformers is a really good example of that. There's a built-in fan base for Transformers because it's an 80s property. So that's why it's doing as well as it is. I think the indie ones, can it beat Spider-Man? I don't know. Will it do really, really well? Hell yeah. And obviously we've seen months where like something killing the children does better than Batman. And that's really, really cool. Will it consistently do better? And is it going to do better than a whole company worth of comics? Again, don't know. But I'm glad it's doing well in its own vein.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is it's got good people behind it. It's got
that's what I was going to say.
Good creators.
Yeah. When you have really strong concepts and really strong creatives and creative people with bigger followings and stuff, it has more of a chance to succeed. And it seems like everybody's excited about it, which is really cool. So,
yeah. I mean, there was a lot of people that liked it. I don't know too many people that disliked it, you know?
Right.
I mean, again, if you do a previews book, people should take note of that because that should be the format of it, you know?
And again, going back to Distillery, I think that was what was so... I could tell you every story that was in this book. I couldn't tell you one story that was in Distillery. I couldn't even name one.
Yeah.
Because it was two pages per story, like 2-3 pages. And you're like,
that's the thing. It wasn't enough to hook you, and it wasn't enough to be memorable, unfortunately.
Right. And I think
mean those stories are bad in any way, but
no.
I think it's harder to hook people. And I think it almost makes their issue ones not succeed. And again, I don't know the numbers, but I feel less wanting to buy those issue ones now that I've read the preview book. It's like, oh, I didn't like anything, so why would I check out these issue ones? If they didn't do the preview book, I think I would have checked out some of their issue ones.
And on top of that too, like you mentioned, the size, the format of the book is really big, so it's hard to store, and they're really expensive because they're trying to, you know, build it as like more artisan, more, you know, exclusive drops kind of thing. And again, I admire the effort. It didn't quite, I don't know, it didn't hit with me at least. So
I mean, with Ghost Machine, I think what they did is that
they cared about the retailer a lot. They gave so many issue ones too, and the posters for Ghost Machine. And I'm not saying Distillery is not doing that because I've seen it a lot, but Ghost Machine, they really threw a lot at retailers in a good way, I think.
Yeah, and then they also took their time at like developing this because it was, you know, Geiger came out first with Junkyard Joe, and there was properties that were all there. These characters were already, a couple of them, introduced. So it did get people aware of, oh, look what Jeff Johns is creating. Like people were already aware of this imprint before this preview came out with all the other stuff. So if anything, people were like, okay, well, let me check out now the rest of this, right? So I checked it out just because of Geiger, because I was out of us in the group, I like Geiger. So I was like, oh, I'm going to pick this up because they already did Geiger. So what else are they going to offer here?
Yeah. Going back to that comment you flashed a minute ago from St. Major, Kat, the thing about the digital stuff is they didn't come out at the same time. Like you had to wait for them to make it digitally available.
Which is so interesting coming from a company that's built by comicsology people.
Right. So like I'm subscribed to their newsletter. So when they do have the digital drop, they'll email you and be like, okay, for the next, you know, however long you get this for this price. And then it goes up, and it's like, it's such a weird format. It's such a weird, you know, structure to their overall, you know, whatever they're trying to do. But go ahead.
Why make anything more complicated for your customer, right? Because you want to make things so easy for your customers because you want people, especially as a new company. So this just sounds like, oh, if you want cheaper, this. There's so many rules before you actually pay for something. It's just like, well, I'm not going to, if it's too many hoops, I'm not going to get it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go into, that was our main topic. So I think we're just going into comics.
Yeah, now we're just going to comics. So no more news.
No more news. For some reason, that felt like a big news piece.
Yeah.
Like Ghost Machine's happening.
That's a good one, man. I really like the way that whole thing turned out. All right, let's talk about a book that Brant and I read this week. And
let's hear if is it good that I skipped it or not?
Resurrection of Magneto. I mean, listen, I actually did like this book. The problem I have with it, it's Al Ewing. So I can see that this book will go over a lot of people's heads and not understand what the hell is going on. But you want to talk about a gorgeous book to look at, though. It is a beautifully illustrated book. I mean, really well done.
Yeah. It is a beautiful book. It's not really a Magneto book, which is what I heard before going into it. It's a Storm book.
Yeah.
So it's a little misleading with the name. So, and I know a lot of people talked about that already. So I thought it was okay. It was fine, but I don't know. It's not what I was looking for, I guess. I don't know what I was looking for.
Why, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is that factor.
I can understand that.
Yeah, nothing against Al Ewing at all. It's just, I don't know. And it's like, obviously it's wrapped up into all this other stuff with the X-Men that none of us are like particularly loving. So there's that aspect of it too. So it's like, I don't know how to feel about this. And it's the whole purpose is Storm is trying to bring him back and doesn't know if he wants to be brought back. And now he's not where he's supposed to be in the afterlife and this whole thing. So it gets really out there.
Exactly. And that's what Al Ewing does. Like, it's in every one of his books. It's like, you can tell he did it with the Immortal Hulk. He's done it with this Immortal Thor stuff, and just like everything that he does is just so way out there. And this is what happened. I mean, I did find the concept interesting, like how Storm had to go into this like limbo world called the Waiting Room to go after his soul, and like the journey that she went on and the creatures that she had to face. Like it was interesting in that aspect. And then you do get to see Magneto like at the end of it on that like last page. I have no idea where it's going to go from here though.
Yeah. But I don't think you would have enjoyed it, Kat.
Yeah. No, it didn't seem up my alley in that regard. We did have a question that we were going to talk about last week, so we'll just talk about it this week. What about Jackpot Mary Jane not being good? Now, I want to talk about this because I also didn't like it. But I think the rhetoric has been so interesting for this book. Because obviously, it's not a great book. But is it the worst book I've ever read in my life? No. I don't even think I think it's literally on the same page as most of the Gang War tie-ins, which aren't that great. They're just fine. But I think it's so interesting that people have been on like a witch hunt for this book. It's like, why? Like, it's not a great book, but it's not horrendous.
Well, because what it is, it has to do with the major character. And I think that's what it is.
I mean, Spider-Woman is. I mean, I think you've been enjoying Spider-Woman.
Yeah,
Mike.
I'll be first. I mean, I didn't like this book at all.
Mary Jane?
Jackpot.
Because honestly, I am not the person out there that's going to be like, oh, those people need to be together. There was one person that made a comment on my review, and I never said that I wanted Mary Jane to be the wife of Peter Parker, like that's her character and that's it. That's not what I want. I just don't want if you're going to write her as a hero, right? In this comic book, my issue is it looks like she's been doing it for ages. There's no trials, there's no tribulations. There's no struggle. She goes out there. She's this hero. She can fly. She's teaming up with Spider-Man. It's like a nothing for her. Paul is like a fucking fake ass Oracle who's in her ear. Like, he offers nothing for the comic. Why does he need to be in the comic book? You know what I'm saying? There's nothing there. And that's what I disliked about the comic. It's just like, she's never strived to be her hero. That was never her goal. She's like, I can strive to be the hero that I always wanted to be. Since when? Since when did you want to be this hero?
Well, that's the thing is, like, look, was it well written? And this is my opinion. This is not, I'm just saying this as someone, my perspective. I don't think it was. But then I do look at something like Luke Cage, and I don't, and I like Luke Cage. I think it's fine. It's a fun enough book. But the dialogue is not that great. There's a moment in, I think, the last issue where Jessica Jones, like, I was supposed to be cooking dinner. I'm like, when would Jessica Jones talk about cooking dinner for Luke Cage?
Yeah, I
But then,
agree.
like, why are more people, again, and I get Jackpot's a big character and people just want to talk, but it's just like, why are you going ham on Jackpot when Jessica Jones is also out of character in this other book? You know?
Because again, it's Mary Jane. That's why. And it's an easy target.
I think that's the thing that really bothers me, because again, was the art horrendous? No. Was the story horrendous? No. And it's just like, yeah, it wasn't for me either, but it just, I think, again, I don't think you did this, Mike, but I think a lot of people are just using it as a target of like, I don't want anything to change. I love nostalgia. I love Peter and MJ together. And I think that's the frustrating part. It's just like, I don't mind her having powers. I think some of the best Spider-Man stories were with Black Cat and MJ. And I hope that this next series will be better. And right. I don't know, but yeah, I think that's the frustrating part.
I don't mind her being a hero either. It's just the way that it was handled of her being a hero. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I want to see her struggle. I want to see her go through it. It shouldn't be so easy for her. You know, it's like, and to make things easier, what did Paul do? He nullified the power. So there's no risk at her possibly dying.
Yeah.
It's, you know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, the one thing that could be bad for her, you're already fixing that problem. And it's just like, come on, you know, and that's what I don't like about it. That's what pissed me off.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's what I didn't like about it either. I thought, aside from that, I thought it was fine. You know, it wasn't like you said, Kat, it wasn't horrendous. It wasn't the worst thing I ever read. I didn't love it. And, you know, I wouldn't want a whole series of that. But it wasn't like I'm not going out there with a pitchfork and saying, oh, this book never needs to exist, that kind of thing. So
it got a lot of that last week. It was a lot of pitchforks.
And that's taking it too far, in my opinion. But it just, like you said, there was no risk and there was no struggle. There was none of this. It was like, let me put on this costume and just I'm going to go out there and hold my own with, you know, Electro. And it's like, no. So yeah, go ahead.
I think it's I was gonna say, I think it's a bigger conversation about gang war too, because I was just like,
true,
that started out so well and now everything's kind of falling apart with it. Again, the tie-ins aren't very strong. Every single part, you're like, where is this going? The art's not strong. It's just like, I feel like that's more of a testament of where gang war is at, which sucks because it was a good event and it had so much potential, but it's every issue I'm just like, man, where's this thing going?
You know, I mean, when it came to this issue, it didn't need to have a gang war banner on it, because the whole reason why it was just like one scene. Oh, look, they're fighting. And it's like, that's a tie-in for you. I mean, it's so dumb, you know, but I agree. What's that?
I said, those are the kind of tie-ins I hate when they have literally nothing to do with the event.
And then the gang war, like the Spider-Man book, it just keeps going down and down for me every single time it comes out, because I feel like this event could be really, really good. And I think the story is not horrible, but again, I hate always bringing this up, but the art just doesn't do the story any justice, because once again, in that last issue, and I think it came out last week, so we didn't talk about it, but every single page was a close-up of someone's face. There was nothing there that displayed a gang war going on. It was like, it was pages of just like how you and I are right now, just like that, every single panel. And to me, I'm sorry, but that kind of artwork in a Spider-Man comic, that just doesn't fly, you know?
Yeah.
And there was one other thing I wanted to point out, and Kat doesn't read it, but in Miles Morales, Spider-Man, who's the main villain, Rabble, right? Did you see the way John Romita Jr. drew Rabble in the Amazing Spider-Man comic, Brant?
I don't remember.
You have to go back.
I mean, I'm sure I noted it at the time, but
it's like an Iron Man character, square, boxy. It's
not surprising.
I remember.
Horrible. Oh my gosh,
not great. I'm still. Oh, I was gonna.
No, go on.
Real quick, I haven't said it on the show because it just never came up. But speaking of like the way characters are drawn, when they debuted the Tombstone's daughter's new outfit, and it was like, I'm putting this on to be scary, and I saw the way it was drawn. I was like, that's not going to scare anybody. It's going to make everybody laugh.
Why do you think he draws it? Because he can't draw the regular one.
I'm actually curious to see who's the next artist for the next arc. Let me see. So the next arc,
anybody else would be an improvement.
Once this is over,
245, and it is. Game War's over. Okay, it's someone else. It's Carmen Canero. So yeah, somebody else. Thank God. Although Ramita is still doing the covers, so I was like, wait, is it Ramita?
Whatever. He can do a cover. Whatever. Do the cover. Just don't do the interiors, please.
Very much agree with that. We did have a comment from Terry. At least most of the covers doesn't have Wolvie plastered all over them. I think they're referencing those X-Force covers that have Wolverine just not drawn very well. I don't know if you guys have been seeing that, but there's. Let me see if I can find it. X-Force. All right, let's look. X-Force League.
I know there's just a lot of Wolverine covers out in general because they're celebrating his anniversary. Yeah.
Let's see. Hold on. I think it's X-Force. Let's see. X-Force 2000. And if you guys know which maybe it's Wolverine. Might have been Wolverine. It's probably Wolverine. Let's see. If you guys know which cover I'm talking about, there's a very specific cover that people have been dogging on.
It says Beast.
Yeah, Beast is on the cover. Do you guys know which issue it was from? That's what I'm looking for.
It was last week.
I know it was an X-Men book. I don't know which one. There was just a bad Beast cover.
Maybe
show me the cover. It was X-Force or X-Factor. I know. You guys, if you guys can help me find it. All right, let's see. Tevia, X-Force issue 48. Here we go. And maybe I was thinking of Wolverine because there's a yeah, here it is. Okay. Nope, that's not it. They won't show the cover.
One. I've seen that before.
Do you find it?
Yeah, I think
you want to screen share it?
Yeah, 1 second.
Because I found the cover and this website will not show it.
Is it this one? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are going crazy for that.
Yeah.
What is that's John Remuda?
No, it's just another artist that really don't like the art. Like people are going like, "Oh my god, where cover art is going?" Like that was the talk of the town.
That's John Cassaday, believe it or not, who did Astonishing X-Men. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, I remember when they first revealed that cover, everybody's like, "Are you sure that's John Cassaday art? That can't be John Cassaday art." Yeah.
Gosh, man, that's crazy.
I think he released another cover that's like similar, and it's like, oh man. Was it great?
All right.
Someone said I picked it up because it was so bad.
Well, there's our Spidey talk too. So that's our thoughts about Jackpot. You know, we'll see. I mean, the next thing isn't the same writer doing the Black Cat and Mary Jane series? Yeah.
But at least it will be with Black Cat, so maybe Paul won't be in it. So maybe I'm hoping it'll be. I don't want it to be. It doesn't have to be great. It just has to be like good enough.
But after reading Black Cat and MJ with Jed McKay,
I know
he gets it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he got the dynamic of the two characters, and I felt like he got the voice of Mary Jane and he got the voice of Black Cat. So, and that's the thing. And those powers and everything else, like he just seemed like he wrote it right. And this dumbed it all down, and that's what I didn't appreciate. So all right, let's move on. Let's talk about Titans Beast World issue 5. I liked this series. I liked it. What do you think about the end though?
The end was Raven seeing her like a different version of herself, right?
So it's evil. Yeah, it's like evil Raven. So she has that soul gem, and the evil Raven is kept inside, and she was basically released.
I mean, honestly, this event's been, has it been like, oh my God, every issue is my number one? No, but it's been it's how you should do an event, right? It's to the numbers in a good way. It's very character driven. Is that another cover from him?
Yeah, that's another
crazy.
This is going to be the the podcast where we just show bad covers.
That is actually the title of this podcast.
Oh god.
No, that's crazy though. That's crazy. But yeah, this was pretty good. I liked it. I'm curious to see where the ending is gonna go. Don't spoil it. I know it comes out today technically, but it's cool. It's been a good series. But I kind of wish I liked Titans as a series more for me to be like, oh my god, this is my number one pick. I feel like if you love the Teen Titans, this will be your, you know, your everything.
Yeah. Overall, it's a good book. I mean,
Yeah.
I like the fight scene with Nightwing and Peacemaker. I thought that was pretty cool. Obviously, you find out like, you know, Amanda Waller's been behind this whole thing the entire time.
Right.
It's just an interesting story. My thing was, it's like, out of all the people, I didn't expect an evil Raven to show up. I'm like, do I
didn't
really
either.
like
Yeah.
that? You know, it's just like I'm tired of seeing duplicates of other people and, you know, and variants and all that other stuff. So I was
But DC
expecting
doesn't
something
do it
else.
as often with, again, characters like that. So
Right.
it's cool.
Right. So,
Yeah, it's not who I envisioned either. I thought it'd be somebody we recognize, but I didn't put that together at all. But
we
It's
do have
still
a soup.
interesting.
Oh, go on.
Yeah.
Brent, yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we have super chat for $5. Oh, hey, let me see. Oh, I don't want to read that. I'm so on. Let's see. Oh, he had a loss in his family. Oh, okay. So this is just saying that he had, because of his father. Okay. I mean, yeah, we're not like it. I think it's just more of a style thing. Even before this, he's just not been our type of artist.
Yeah.
So it's definitely more.
Yeah.
If you loved him in the past, you'll continue to love him. If you didn't, then you continue to not find it.
I'll
to your
always
fancy.
say this: like, if he continues to do artwork, like he should just do independent stuff at this time. And I'll always say that he is the artist for Kick-Ass. To me, his artwork is Kick-Ass artwork. You know, because that's just, I thought he did that series pretty well.
Yeah, it's just it's so weird because he changed his style so drastically from his old school stuff, and the newer stuff it doesn't appeal to us. That's what we've always said. Art styles are subjective, and it's just not one that we gravitate towards. So
nope. All right, so we talked about the Ghost Machine. All right, so let's talk about our number 5. So, Brant, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is The Flash, number 5. I think am I the only one reading this still?
I didn't even know you were still reading it.
Yeah, I am still reading it. The only reason, and for one, I only read 13 books this week, so it was a smaller week for me.
It is a very small week.
Yeah. So the only reason this one made my top 5 was because of Jay, Wally's son, who had the whole issue was basically about him and how he was trying to manage his powers. And every time he gets freaked out, he involuntarily teleports to wherever Wally is, and he doesn't understand why and everything. And someone from the future kind of talks to him, and there's like this emotional thing, and he comes to the realization, has to reveal to Wally that he doesn't want to be a superhero. And it was, I don't know, it was emotional and meaningful for him in that moment. So it was a strong issue for that reason alone. And I'm kind of wondering if this future version is actually him from the future. So that's it.
Been done
I give you
before,
credit
so.
for sticking with this.
Yeah, I
book.
know. Yeah.
All right, what's yours, Kat?
Mine was Power Pack. I liked it. I enjoy the Power Pack, but I will say, and I'm curious because I know Mike read it, but it's definitely a series for people. You read it too, Brant?
Yeah.
It's definitely a series for people who read all Power Pack. Is
absolutely.
not for new people.
Yes.
And
Not at
also no, and I like that version of the Power Pack. It's not my favorite version of the Power Pack, but I was like, oh, I'm having fun with it because it's like very old school and it's nostalgic. And actually, one of the potential titles for this video was like, does comics rely too much on nostalgia? And this was the reason I was talking about it, because it's like, this is very much just a nostalgic book. And it's just like, well, do we need this story? I'm not really sure. But I like seeing these writers return. But I definitely think there's more stories to tell about the present version of Alex and Julie and Katie and Jack. So it's fun, but it's not anything too crazy.
Did you read it, Brant?
Okay. Yeah, I did read it. I'm curious to see what you thought, though.
This was a painful read for me. I just couldn't, man. Like, it was like, as soon as the seahorses came up, or
You've never read Power Pack before.
I was like, what's the name of the planet that they went to? What is?
I don't know, but the one race of characters were called Snarks.
Yeah,
You know what's so interesting? That's like
I
the
was
basis of
like,
that original comic. Like, all those characters are from that original Power Pack.
I figured that, but I'm just like, when I was like, Planet Snart, I'm like, that's when I checked out. I'm like, these guys look like freaking seahorses. And I'm like, I am fucking done. I can't. I was like, and I said it in my review too. I was like, this is probably great for Power Pack fans who originally read this. Nothing against it. I'm like, that's awesome. I just got tired of the kids constantly harping on their kids, you know, or on their parents, be like, wouldn't it be cool if we had our power, if we had powers, and, you know, and stuff like that. And then you had Franklin, and, you know, you had the old school Fantastic Four there, and you got Reed always talking like a nerd all half the time. And it was just like, it was just one of those things where it just wasn't my time. And I never read Power Pack when I was younger. So yeah, that's it. And like I said, that's like saying me reading an old school Venom book. You know what I'm saying? From the 90s that Kat didn't read. You know, it's like, why would she read that? You know, so.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I don't even know, and I liked it. Like, I liked it enough that I'll continue to read it. But I don't even know, as a Power Pack fan, like I said, I need it. It just feels like, okay, cool, I'm getting this story that I kind of already know. And I just, Power Pack in particular, are characters, I just find that, and I kind of said it earlier, are characters that just got better over time. Like, I just think they become more interesting, and you really see it here, where it's just like, that is what they used to do. All their biggest drama was always, should I tell my parents about my powers? And eventually they do find out. But that's literally all they ever did, and they're more interesting than that now.
That's what annoyed me about this, because like, man, I've seen that before so many times, and okay, so I didn't read like as much Power Pack as you did, Kat, but I did read random issues here and there back in the day, so I got it. You know, it's like, okay, this feels nostalgic. It feels like, you know, this lost story or whatever, which is fine. But it lost me halfway through.
This is me saying about Power Pack.
Yeah, halfway through, or maybe not even halfway through, I was like, oh my god. I put it down. I had to come back to it. I read like the end of it like right before the show, because I was like, oh, I got to finish this book. So you felt like
the same way I did. I just got tired of them harping about the power situation. I'm like, enough, man. Just get over it. Like, shit, get your powers or not. Crying out loud, man.
And it's like you say, Kat, there are better versions of Power Pack that I like better than this version of Power Pack. So I don't need to read any more of this, so I'm not going to.
But, I don't think you guys need to either. I'll read it because, again, I love this team, but I don't think it's gonna break anything. And again, that goes back to, why is Marvel doing some of these books? It's just, I kind of get it, but none of them have been that great.
I think they're trying to serve two different audiences. They're trying to serve the audience that doesn't want anything to change and wants everything to stay the same, and the ones that wanted everything to progress. So
exactly. Yep. So we'll see. All right. So definitely, Power Pack was not my number 5. So
not your number 5.
And so we'll talk about it now. My number 5 was actually Crashdown.
Okay.
From Comic Tom. So I am putting this out there. I did not give this a good review because it's Comic Tom, and I'm saying, hey, you know, I was going to buy this book regardless, and because obviously I want to support the, you know, people creating comics and whatnot, right? And so my honest review on this comic was, for me, it was a very interesting book. Like, yes, it's sci-fi, definitely not up Kat's alley, but it's sci-fi horror.
Okay, horror is cool.
And I like horror. And really what this book is about is about Earth about to die because the sun is burning out, and we have a bunch of humans that are going to this planet that is, you would say, almost an equivalent to Earth. It's got water, it's got life, it's got land, and these people have been selected to go to this planet, and it's obviously very far away. So they have to be cryogenically frozen, right? So, and it's just, they go through trials and tribulations along the way. Like, not all the people stay frozen. There, one, like, there's a husband and wife that go, and one husband like becomes like this old man as he's traveled, and the wife wakes up and she sees her husband as an old man. So that's very interesting. You know what I'm saying? And in the very beginning of this comic, it opens up as like them crashing down in this planet, right? And then at the end, you wind up seeing something that happens to the main character, one of the main characters, right? After that crash. And then you just get to see everything all the way through. So I thought like the character work was pretty good in here. The explanation, things that happened, I thought was really well done. My biggest issue with the comic was that it was the artwork. I thought that the artwork was very simplistic for what it was. And if it's a sci-fi horror book, I felt that the characters looked a little too like comic strippy, in my opinion, you know?
That's
But over,
so weird.
what's that?
That's so weird because it's been Temple Smith art, and he's kind of known for horror. So that's
Right.
interesting.
So it just didn't feel like it fit that style of book, you know? And it wasn't horrible. I thought that like certain scenes were pretty good. It's just some of the stuff when they were on the spaceship just talking and things were a little bit wonky for me. But overall, though, the story was interesting, and I really want to see where it goes, because they said they like to compare it as like almost like a Lost thing, because it's a ship that is crashed down, and they go to like obviously an island, and then they rescue one of their people that wind up going underwater or whatnot, and obviously something has happened to her. So that's kind of like what they're comparing it to, and I liked it. I mean, I found myself wanting issue 2 like right away. I'm like, oh man, I want to see where this goes. And it's only 4 issues. It's not like it's this long thing. So I thought it was awesome, and I give him credit for working together, him and Ryan, and coming up with this story. It was a long time in the making, and you know, I wish him good luck with it. But I enjoyed it. It was, will it have been maybe my number 5 in any other week? Maybe not. But it was a pretty good book for the first time those two writing a series together. And I know they had a lot of support, you know, making this book as well.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, David Mack did a cover for this. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that helped them out do different covers. So, but yeah, good stuff, and I'm looking forward to more. People go, why do people dislike Comic Tom? I don't know.
Probably, I mean, I don't know any history, but I'm guessing because he's popular and people like to hate popular people. That's my guess. But I mean, unless there's other skeletons in the closet we don't know about, but that's most of the time what I see towards people.
Right. But Crashdown was a nice surprise. I wasn't expecting it to be a book like this, and I'm going to read issue 2. All right, so let's move on here. Let's talk about Superior Spider-Man issue 3, which Kat's not reading, so Brant and I are reading.
I'm done.
This was a good book. This was actually my favorite.
The best issue of the series. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, by far. Basically, what happens in this one is Superior and Peter like team up together. Not Superior, I should say. Doc Ock and Peter team up together because they're trying to rescue what's her name, Anna Marie Marcone, and because they were captured by that supernova girl, and it was just cool seeing them. They had to go to this secret base to get this, like, I don't know, this material so they can use it to destroy the villain, but they needed like Superior to be there. So it was just like, it was just like, you know, what's his name, Doc Ock in Peter's ear, right? I mean, it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was funny, and the ending was pretty cool, right, Brant?
Yeah. So yeah, he played Cyrano with him. He basically had Peter act like he was superior, so the troops would not kill him. So it was funny. The ending. What happened at the ending?
So at the end, he captured him.
Oh
Peter.
yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he put the helmet on him. He's trying to take over Peter's body again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to bring Superior actually back. And Peter's like, oh crap.
Yeah, exactly.
Here we go again.
He's like,
Yeah,
oh, I shouldn't have trusted you.
Yeah.
It was cool because he showed trust in Doc Ock because he said he never sacrificed anything for his life, and that's why he was willing to work with him. And I think the team up between the two was cool. And I like how Peter was pretending to be Superior Spider-Man, and he's like, the die is cast, and he has no idea like what it really means, and he's just saying it to say it. Yeah, it was fun, man. So I liked it.
I might have dropped it if this had not been a good issue because I hadn't liked the previous two, but this issue was really good. So
yeah, exactly. All right, so let's move on to a book that Kat definitely really reads, and that's Green Arrow issue 8.
I like this arc more than I've liked the previous arc, which is weird to say because it's like the previous arc was actually more defined, but this one, I enjoyed seeing Green Arrow have to deal with what has happened in the DC universe up to this point. Like, I really liked him just observing, like, oh, the Justice League really is gone. What does that mean for me? And obviously everything going on with Roy. But I like this issue. I think it was very solid. So
it's interesting because I read the Star City tie-in to Beast World, and then
I didn't like that.
Oh, it was. That's what I'm saying. It was night and day.
I read that too, and I was like,
yeah.
Wow, this is
so
just
bored.
It was not great. So this was kind of refreshing to read this after that. But yeah, no, this arc is definitely stronger so far. This didn't quite make my top 5, but I really did enjoy this issue. And him and Ollie and Connor reconnecting and playing, and acting like they're I can't pronounce that word, but the sound effect guy was kind of cool. I didn't actually see that
Vertigo?
coming.
Who was in it? Vertigo, right?
Onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia. There you go.
Yeah, that word. I can't say that word, but
we found a word that you cannot say.
Right. Yeah.
This the art in this is different too, and it's the artist that did that Jeff Lemire book with the trees. Do you remember the people turning into the trees?
Yeah. Oh,
remember
man.
that book?
Yeah, Family Tree. Family Tree. Phil. So you know what's interesting,
yeah.
Mike, is that Phil Hester is like a really well-known Green Arrow artist. So he did Green Arrow when Kevin Smith was doing Green Arrow.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why he's doing this. He's like probably the most one of the more popular Green Arrow artists.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it was cool. I like this issue too. I mean, you got the situation with Roy at the end, and there's like, oh yeah. But you know what? I don't think he is. I think it's just a thing like where he's undercover.
Yeah, I just thought that was a cool twist.
Yeah, I did too. I kind of was like, oh crap. And then I'm like, wait, he ain't working for anybody. He's just undercover doing shit. That's what I thought there too. So.
There was a lot of interesting movements in this issue, stuff like that, where it's like, oh yeah. that's interesting. So this is a well-written comic. It was solid.
It's bad. I like this arc better than the first arc too.
Yeah.
Because at least they're on the same universe together, right?
Yeah.
That definitely helps for sure. I think the first one kind of lulled a little bit at times. So this one actually, you get to see people interact with each other.
All right. So let's move on to our number 4. So Kat, what's yours?
Mine was Amazon Attack. We get to see Cassie and what's the other Wonder Girl's name?
Yara.
What's her name? Yara, Mary Marvel, just having fun with each other, all while this, the plot of Wonder Woman is surrounding them. I do think there's parts where I'm like, oh yeah, they have other characters they're trying to balance, but they weren't in the issue as much. I just like having fun with these characters that probably interact with each other off panel, but don't really have a chance to fully interact. So I had a fun time with that. And the art's really solid. It's just a book that I'm pleasantly surprised by.
Yeah, I really like this issue as well, and I've been enjoying this series so far. But those I love those two characters, or all three of those characters in particular. Anyway, so seeing them all three together is just like, oh, okay, that's really cool. And yeah, you have like Nubia and I can never remember the other one's name from the Bonnie McDowell, the bald one. I can never remember her name, but anyway. They're doing their own thing, and it's fine when we see them. But I did appreciate just the focus on Cassie, Yara, and Mary in this issue because it was just fun, like you said. So
yeah, it's not reinventing any wheels, but it's a
right.
cool character issue. It's funny. I agree with Steve. Amazon Attack should be called Wonder Woman Family. This is like really not sold very well, because if you read the title, you had no idea what this book's about. And honestly, the book has changed so much. There is not really a concrete plot, I feel, but I feel like that's also why I like the book, is because it's just kind of, again, doing its own thing.
Yeah, I mean there's like little subplots, right? So there's like the goddess that they thought was behind all of it that's killed, and they're investigating that, and then there's like the missing Amazons, and they're investigating that. But it's really just, let's just showcase these characters and have some fun with it, basically.
Yeah. It's cool
stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see, what are we, number 4, right? Is that where we're at?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, what's yours, Brant?
Mine was Superior Spider-Man. So
okay, and mine was, what is mine? Spider-Woman. So
how'd you like that issue?
Yeah. I'm interested to hear.
Well, because it gets away from gang war more,
yeah,
and it gets to more of what I've been wanting for of this series, and it deals more with her son Jerry and her searching for him, and they find clues, and they like, oh, Hydra has kidnapped him and or is using his powers that he has, and then you get to the end of the book and look what happens. I mean, spoiler, this is a spoiler here, but supposedly they aged him up, and now he's fighting for Hydra, and he's battling his mom. And as a mother, that has got to kill her,
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, damn. Now you could say, oh, look, they're doing the same thing that DC did by aging up, Superboy. But it's not the same thing, because Jerry is never a major character. By aging up Jerry, he could become a major character in the future.
Where Jerry was first introduced was MC2, and that was kind of a similar story in the MC2. So I think that's pretty cool. I like the cliffhanger, but there's still a big part of me that's just like, I will like so many other iterations of Spider-Woman more than this. There's something that feels really flat about this book. I might give it another issue to, like, this week was so easy to pick it up. There wasn't a lot of books out, and if another week like that turns up, I'll pick it up. But something about it just doesn't feel as strong as previous runs.
Well, I can see that. Like, I can see, again, this book tends to try to balance this whole gang war bullshit, in it, and to be more of a Spider-Woman book. So I think that maybe they're starting to lean towards the part maybe that we're looking for now. I'm hoping, at least anyway. But I can see where you're getting at, because a lot of it just did a lot with just Jessica and Julia talking about everything, and then it didn't amp up until the end. So I get
it was till that last page. But that last page was like, oh yeah, that could be interesting. But then the rest of it, was a lot of like talking heads.
Yeah. No, I get that, and I agree too that previous versions have been better, but I still like the book, and I like also that it got away from the gang war stuff, and the Jerry stuff is really interesting. So it's I can see how they could really dig into that. Hopefully they will, emotionally, destroy her. So I liked it. It didn't quit. It's my number 6, so it's almost my top 5.
Gotcha. Okay. So We all did number 4, right? So let's talk about book I don't read still, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, issue 116.
This is a good issue. It's again, my Power Rangers is a tough book because I would wish I could say, Mike, oh, pick it up. It's this is so good. You need
You'd
to be reading
completely
it.
lost. Yeah.
But you'd be completely lost. Yeah, it's a book that you literally need to be reading from issue 1 to understand what's going on. And I'm glad that Brant has been on the ride since the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is so involved. It has to do with Lord Draken kind of coming back, and then Kimberly's other version of herself, the Ranger Slayer. And there's a big battle between the two. These big characters that only was invented from the comics. And Kimberly kills Lord Draken, it seems like. And you're like, whoa, that's such a huge moment. And I love this book. It's just one of the most consistent books on stands. Like, there's just not I've never read a 1 through 116 issue book, and every issue be this consistent with 5 different writers.
Right? Yeah, it's insane. Yeah,
but they're all friends, so that makes sense.
Right, true. It's just a solid read, but I agree, you'd be completely lost jumping in at this point. But it's good. It's just it's a good, you can always count on it to be a good book, and you never like, it doesn't matter where I read it in the pile. It's like, okay, well, I'm ready for a decent read. I'm gonna pick up Power Rangers. So, and I never thought I would ever say that. So it's funny. As long as it's been that I've been reading this book, it's still so good and still got my attention. So,
because it's a good superhero book. It is a Power Rangers book, but it really is just a superhero book, like a team book.
It's one of the very few instances I can point to say there's so many characters, but they're so freaking well balanced, and everybody gets their time to shine. I can't think of many examples of a book that does that well. So.
Right, freaking Power Rangers. I am gonna be buying the Power Rangers Return though when that comes out.
Oh yeah, I hope it's good. Because I was talking about Ranger Slayer. Like, she's such a cool character, and I can't imagine Returns being better than what they already did with Kimberly. So I'm like, oh, I'm curious to see what that's gonna be all about.
And she's writing it too.
She is. Yeah. I feel like it's gonna be more romance driven, which I actually don't know how to feel about. Because I like her romance, but I think she's, I don't think she's defined by Tommy or whoever she's with, but
right.
I think that's going to be super interesting. I really do think it's going to be about that.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. All right, so let's talk about. Well, do we have to Titan? I mean, I guess we did. Let's skip that.
We kind of did.
Yeah.
We already did. We're good. We don't need to talk about Titans, Beast World, Star City. Just know that you don't need to pick it up. You don't have to pick up any of the Star City books. Or any of the Titans World Tour. I think the only thing I'll add is the only reason I picked it up because it was Green Arrow, and I was like, oh, it's not characters you usually see, but I'm good.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. We talk about our number 3. So Brant, go on to your number 3.
Amazon's Attack. So we already talked about that.
Okay. What about you, Kat?
Ghost Machine. We already talked about it.
Okay. Like Spider Slayer, what's yours? Well, mine is Ghost Machine. We already talked about
nice.
it. Yeah, so let's see. Let's move on to. We talked about those 2 books already.
Yep.
So Amazon, Power Pack. So we're just going to jump into number 2. And Brant, we'll go back to you. What's your number 2?
Ghost Machine. So we already talked about it.
Kat, what's your number 2?
Green Arrow. We already talked about it.
Oh, yeah.
Look, it's that type of week because there's not a lot of books that came out this week.
Right. My number 2 was Titans Beast World. So we definitely talked about that. We talked about Spider-Woman. So I guess we're just going to jump into our number 1. And my number 1 was Superior Spider-Man. Yep.
Okay.
So it was the most fun I had out of all the books this week. So what about you, Kat?
Mine was Power Rangers. I just thought it had a really cool ending.
Cool.
Mine was Titans Beast World. So
we all had different ones this week.
I know.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often, which is cool.
No.
Like, at least usually like 2 of us are like, I really like this big book. So having You know what's interesting? We'll talk about most anticipated too. Tomorrow's really interesting because we all are excited for different books.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean,
Usually...
I think there's going to be a lot of crossover, but yeah.
Yeah, no, there's definitely at least a little crossover. Brant, you sowed the seeds for us to cross over a bit.
I sowed the seeds of crossover?
Yeah.
Because I just copied your books. Yeah.
Mine and Mike's.
Yeah, both of them. I was going through it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was I don't want to forget about this. There was a question earlier that was asked, and what did we think about Avengers Twilight? Because I don't think we got a chance.
Oh, yeah.
Twilight was interesting because I think it seems like you enjoyed it a lot, Mike, but it's a book that I've seen a billion times. Like, it was a fine read.
Yeah. I think we all have seen that type of book a bunch of times, right?
And I don't know if it does anything different enough for me to be like, wow, that's the best book ever. It just was like, yeah, it's fine. I'll see where the next issue goes. And I think, it just didn't feel too unique to me.
I liked it, but I agree. I mean, it is definitely something we've seen. I like the way that it was done and the way that certain characters had changed and progressed and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and the way Luke Cage was handled, how he lost how it affected his health and everything. I thought was really interesting. But jumping into that, I'll turn to you, Mike, because issue 2 is actually one of your most anticipated. So
yeah, so like for me, it's yes, we've seen this type of story before. It's not like it's again reinventing the wheel like we've discussed earlier, but what I got out of it was the characters, right? So like I like seeing Captain America in this state and have him getting the super soldier serum back. I liked seeing like Tony Stark's son as he's like this complete idiot jerk, and then like it looks like he's using his like, to me, his father's like in that test tube at the end of that issue. And I think he's stealing his dad's ideas from his brain. That's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think he's doing. And like just seeing Luke Cage use like the Defender name and he has his own people around him, I thought was quite interesting. And just the whole thing with like Matt Murdock and Peter, and just there was a lot of cool things, a lot of cool elements in that comic. So even though it's something that we've seen before, I still found it really unique. I guess unique's not the word that I should say. I guess I found it really interesting enough to see where this story is actually going, right? And that's sometimes it's like we need different stories from the everyday regimen of just normal superhero stories that are just going on in the main universe, or maybe lack thereof. And I felt like this was actually pretty good. Like it felt like it had some kind of emotion to it.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we'll see if it continues to hold us. Yeah. What
you were also saying about, so I know we're going to transition to most anticipated again. You were saying your rationale about your picks. So you're talking about your picks. I need to know.
Yeah, no, I was just looking through the list again, and I was trying to find like books I was like really excited to talk about or whatever and stuff like that, and just there were a few that like were on my radar and stuff. Like somebody mentioned Moon Man, that it's kind of on my radar too.
Yeah,
Kyle Higgins is co-writing that one. Yeah, so but it was like when I really sat down and thought about it, and I was looking at y'all's list, and I was like, well, these are the books that I'm actually excited about. So
it happens
more than any others. So, except for
Duke
one,
had to be on your list.
Yeah, Duke had to be on my list. And Power Rangers, we just talked about that. So, let's talk about that real quick. Power Rangers Unlimited, The Morphin Masters is on my list because Ryan Parrott is writing it.
Yeah, he's returning. It's also Ranger Slayer, I want to say.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's got to be, Ryan Parrott coming back to Power Rangers is like a no-brainer for me. So
same.
Yeah, that one's definitely.
We'll read this next. Let's you want to read this comment first? You want to finish the most anticipated?
It doesn't matter to me. Whichever.
Okay. Let's read it then. This $5 super chat from Highland Low Roller. Are you for or against people standing in the comic shop, reading up all the comics and not buying them? Issues with stealing content and conditions? Well, let me tell you, as someone who, and I'm sure Brant has also dealt with this, as someone who sells comics and has dealt with that, I hate it. I remember this. I don't know if I've ever told this story on the show, but I went to a con. And it was one of Phil's first conventions that he was like selling at. And there was this person that came to our table, and he, it happens a lot. It happens at least once a convention. There's someone who comes to your table and reads your whole book and doesn't buy it. And this person came and read, I think, The Dancer, the whole issue. And, they walked away and like, they said, I'm going to come back. And then that's like, no, you just stole my book. You just read it literally in front of me. And the trick usually is like, oh, did you like it? It's just this amount of money. Like, do you like it? And they continue to read. This person said, oh, I got to check out the next issue. And they picked up the whole series except issue 1 that they had read. Because they wanted to read more. That never happened to me before, that they read the whole first issue and they're like, yeah, I'll pick up the rest of the series, but not issue 1 that they read in front of me, but they picked up all the other issues.
It's so weird and so wrong.
It is. And especially in front of the creator, and obviously comic stores, I'm sure they feel the same way. It's like, well, this is my business. That's how I make money.
Yeah.
You are pretty much stealing from me in front of me.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like if I was a shop owner, I'd be like, listen, guys, you guys, like, I don't mind if you flip through a book to just see if you like the artwork and what's inside of it.
Yeah,
but
read a page, but don't read the whole thing.
Don't sit there and start standing there having a Coke and freaking reading the book and being like 10 minutes later putting on it. That would piss me off. I honestly
it happens
would not do that.
Yeah. It's happened to me too. It's something at conventions you deal with. Most people, like 99% of people are respectful and they won't do that.
Yeah.
But you get random people. Yeah.
I mean, nothing for nothing. I get mad when I do my garage sales, the couple times a year, and they literally take it out of the bag and board and they start reading it. I'm like, dude, I'm selling you a comic for $1. I'm like,
get it or don't get it.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Like it's my comic book until you purchase it. Don't put your grubby hands and read. It's all bagged and boarded. It's all sealed and everything else. And it's just like, and you're reading it right there in my garage sale. Like, to me, that's disrespectful. It's
it definitely is.
For sure.
It's very disrespectful. I don't think there's an instance where it isn't. Like, and again, I think someone said, one of their shop owners says this isn't a library. And then that is the example. Like, if you want to do that, just go to a library. There's other places you could do that at. But like when it is your business, it's hard. Like, again, when I've seen it, and I'm sure you again dealt with it too, Brant, and you have said you've dealt with it. It's hard to nicely say, don't do that. And a lot of people who do it don't get it. They literally don't understand you're nicely saying, don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard, especially in that kind of setting too. And at a comic shop, I've heard that same thing somebody said in the comments. This isn't a library, you can't read it. And there's like, I've been in shops where they have signs everywhere, don't read the books, and stuff like that. So you kind of have to. But at a convention, it's really hard because it's a delicate balance of not ticking a bunch of people off, and wanting to keep your audience, but at the same time protecting all your stuff. So.
And at a convention too, it's like you're preventing other customers to come to you because if someone's reading, it's hard to talk to other people. So
exactly. Yeah.
Like you can tell when someone is standing there reading a book or flipping through a book. Like you can
because they're still on the same page that they were on 2 minutes ago.
Right.
Unlike you just looking through the book. Because if you're flipping the pages quickly, that really is so different. I don't mind if you do that for 5 minutes because you really are just like, I've seen a good example is there's so many undecisive people at conventions because they want to spend their money in places where they want to spend their money. So I've seen people stand there for 10 minutes be like, I don't know. I'll come back. I don't know. That's totally fine. Like, go ahead. Like, I don't mind that, but just don't read the book.
This didn't happen to me. It happened to somebody I've seen, but one time somebody was like reading their comic and like trying to talk to them about, oh, I like the way you did this right here, and it's just like explaining the scenes to this person. It's like, man, I know you're trying to be like, but that's not cool.
No, it's even worse because then you are confirming the thing that we're all known for doing.
Yeah. It's like, but they're totally oblivious to it. It's so weird. Anyway. That's crazy. Oh yeah, we're talking most anticipated, aren't we?
We are. I'll leave it. One thing I want to leave at. I forgot about the story I was talking about at the Comic-Con. At the end, after they read it, they said, I wonder what's gonna happen next.
It's like maybe pay for it and you'll find out. Yeah.
We'll go on. Most anticipated.
Yeah. So we talked about Power Rangers. We talked about Avengers Twilight. I'll throw this one out there. Dead X-Men, just because I want to know what the heck. I already kind of gave my thoughts about the Hulk Krakoa thing. Yeah, I want to know what this is and
who are the dead X-Men that died? I don't even remember.
Right.
I'll pick it up because I think it's a cool concept.
Yeah, the cover kind of shows them shadowed. One of them kind of looks like Strong Guy. That's the only thing I got to go on. So I don't know, but yeah, I'll pick it up just to see. And then Lilo and Stitch. I'm kind of excited about this one too, Kat. So
I don't really usually buy the Disney books, but I'm excited for this because of Greg Pak. I'm like,
right, exactly.
Lilo and Stitch book. That's really interesting. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm gonna pick it up because of that.
Yeah. So, and that's and then Duke is on mine and Mike's list. Obviously, yep. I know you're gonna pick it up too, Kat. But Duke, G.I. Joe, it's it's a no-brainer for me. So I was seeing if Mike had any thoughts.
No, sorry, I was looking at your list and my list. So no, Duke, I'm just looking forward to seeing that continuation there, like how he deals with the information that he found out, right? So you found out that Destro is in the early stages of creating all the vehicles and maybe getting ready for the alliance with Cobra and stuff like that. And just how is this going to tie into Transformers even more? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to see Cobra Commander's really good tie-in with Transformers and Megatron and all that other stuff, so I'm interested to see if there's more Transformers involved in this title or not. But I don't know, man. I don't know what to expect from this title because it's just something completely different.
Yeah. I'm continuing to read it, so we'll see where it goes.
So we'll talk about your number one, Kat, because this is the only book on any of our lists that I'm not actually reading. So
Dark Ride.
So this is Dark Ride. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Dark Ride, and I believe this is like a new arc that's starting soon. It's just a book that doesn't let me down. For people that don't know what it's about, it's a horror version of a theme park, and there's a lot of mystery behind what's going on. And I believe in the last issue, they revealed that the dad sold the souls of his children to the devil, and that's why all this stuff has been happening. So
it looks like the sister is the one that's taking over. And the daughter of the brother went missing. I think that's what happened.
Yes, she did. Something happened with the daughter for sure.
I am really excited for this book. I love this book to death. It doesn't come out enough.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So this goes to Joshua Williamson's projects, right? I feel like this project suffers a little bit because of all this stuff else that he's got going on. So I love this book. I just wish it came out on more of a regular basis than what it does. Because when you read it, it is a pretty fast read. And then it's like, oh man, I gotta wait how long for this next issue to come out again? But
it's not one of those books where I'm like, oh man, I don't remember what happened. Like, I always remember, and I'm always like, oh, this is a good plot. It doesn't
I agree
stop
because
my enjoyment.
Right, because I just kind of said everything, And then like once you start reading it, you totally remember like everything that's going on
and why you like the book.
And
Because there's
yeah,
books that
exactly.
are so delayed, and you're like, what happened last issue? I don't know what's going on. I think The Cull is honestly a good example of that, which I think there's supposed to be a last issue that came out and just never did. There was a book that got delayed a lot. I'm like, what's going on? I don't remember. Am I invested anymore? You know, there's a lot of books like that.
In 2 weeks, not this week, but next week.
And it's been a long time since that book has come out. Local Man was another one that just like it had a big hiatus, and then I think fell apart a lot after the hiatus. So, but this book never, it doesn't do that. It's
Which one comes out next week? I missed
The
it.
Cull. The
Cull.
Cull.
Oh, gotcha.
No. But yeah, it's a good book. So you guys should definitely go check it out. I think I saw some comments.
Yeah.
Steve said, I'm looking forward to that Trinity book. Just a fair warning on the Trinity book. It's mostly a reprint. If you've been reading like the backstories, I was looking forward to it too until I found out it was just a
there
reprint,
is one new story in it, but most of it, is reprint. And then Serenity pointed out who the dead X-Men are.
Let's see. Serenity would always know that. So has Jubilee, Dazzler, Frenzy, and Prodigy. Oh, that's a fun team.
I didn't even know they were dead.
Me either. Not at all.
Dazzler died in the gala, didn't she? I think.
Did she?
Yeah, I think she did. I think she was one of them.
Okay. Well, yeah. That sounds like you said. That sounds like a fun team to me. So.
My issue is that most of these X-Men books like kind of suck, right?
Right. And,
and then it's like, but the thing is like even when the resurrection protocols are done, for some reason, these X-Men still can't be dead. They still somehow come back alive.
Well, of
like,
course.
Look at Destiny. Mystique. Like she fell from like how far off in her memory was messed up, and somehow she got brought back from Nightcrawler. What is the most recent thing? I just had it in my head and then I lost it. Who just came? Well, obviously they're trying to get Magneto back, and then there's another. Oh, the last X-Men book. Did you guys read that one?
You mean the regular flagship?
Yeah. The one where has that bad artwork in there that did like X-Force or Marauders. I
don't remember what happened.
Whatever it was. So what happened is they went to the High Evolutionary and and Talon, who is the original 23. She winds up like getting killed. And for some reason, since Sync has everybody's freaking powers, he's able to keep the mind of Laura in his
puts it
brain.
inside him.
Right.
Yeah, I remember
like,
that now. Yeah.
I can see that being interesting for some people, but again, this goes back to nothing having.
It's the only way they can make Sync interesting.
Like, but why can't anybody just die? Why can't anybody just die? Because at first I was like, oh shit, they're actually killing her off. Nope, just killing. Just kidding. Because somehow now we're going to find a body for the original X-23 to live in, old version, I don't know, man.
They haven't even been doing anything I know they've been doing stuff with X-23, but nothing so crazy that she's,
Right. So now you got old X-23 still mental, like alive in Sync's brain. And then you got the resurrected X-23 when she came out of the vault. So that's what you have there.
Yeah, but is she still alive after Wolverine and Sabretooth?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's why I don't like Sync, because the dude can literally do everything.
I know. It's and he doesn't have a personality of his own, unfortunately. So. Anyway, let's pivot to the last book on our most anticipated, which is Mike's number 1, Titans Beast World number 6. We kind of already talked about that too, but the conclusion.
It's the conclusion. I'm curious to see like where we're going to go after this. Like, I want there to be stakes. I want there to be ramifications. I want it to affect the DC universe. I don't want some pointless ending to a event, right? So
Yeah, I think it has. I mean, Beast Boy has to stay dead for this to mean something, and Amanda Waller, something has to happen with that too, right?
They've
She
been doing
can't just be
something with her.
defeated, right? Yeah.
yeah.
So it'll be
So,
interesting.
overall, regardless of what happens, this event wasn't a failure for me because it
Yeah, no, I
actually
agree.
had me engaged all the way through the entire thing.
Yeah.
And good art consistently.
Yeah.
Same artist. And Tom Taylor's good with endings for the most part, so I'm not too nervous about that. He's like good with his cliffhangers.
Yeah. So that's it. That's our most anticipated.
Which
There's the show.
means that's the end of the show. And we are glad that we could be here for you guys today. Thank you for joining us. And of course, on our way out, we're on your way out. If you guys can give the show a thumbs up and subscribe to all of our channels, Comic Book Corner 2.0, Only Good Comics, Comic Uno, that would be greatly appreciated, guys. And don't miss a show or a video from us. So make sure you hit that notification bell as well. Follow us on all the other social media stuff, especially Instagram. I think that's where we have the most stuff, and it's not even that much. So it's just maybe like a replay.
Just watch the show.
Yeah, just watch this.
Just watch
this
the
is the
show.
best place.
Yeah.
You know. So again, guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful new comic book day. Enjoy all those new comics, and we'll see you again, hopefully next week. So guys, take care. Thank you so much for watching.